Okay, hello everyone. So I've been putting together a Parallettes fundamental series on my Instagram. Now the Instagram videos are quite short and I'm talking about detail in quite a complex way very quickly. So I wanted to put together this YouTube video for the first 4 episodes in my mini Parallettes series on Instagram, but to go into a lot more detail. So that's going to be looking at how to hold the Parallettes and the orientation of your arm. That's the first video in my series. Then the second one is about the first 2 fundamental positions on the Parallettes, which is going to be front support and back support. The third video that we looked at was starting to build some press-ups, and then we're looking at the first technical skill, which is going from front support to back support. So we'll go ahead and get going on these in a lot more detail in this video. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is how to hold the parallette. Now, I've talked about this before. We're going to use an externally rotated position of the arm. So that means that this little elbow ditch here is going to be turning outwards and away from our body, and it needs to be on a continuous journey outwards. You don't need to crank it really hard, but it's also not a matter of going there and holding. It's sort of more like it's in the process of rotating outwards, and you get this sense of extension through the arm. Okay, so that's the way the arm is going to be turned around. From there, we need to understand how to protract the shoulder. That means that your shoulder is coming forwards and sliding around across your ribcage. You can see it because there's this sort of characteristic rounding shape in my back. Now I'm not actually rounding my back, it just looks like that because of the shape of your ribcage. What I'm doing, I'm drawing my stomach, so I'm taking control of my core, as if there's a little yellow ball just behind your belly button. Draw in, take control of it, be in charge of it, okay? So I'm there, I'm taking control. I externally rotate my arm and then protract forwards here, and I have exactly the same action on the other arm. Okay? Now that externally rotated position is the one we want to have our shoulder in whenever we are this side of the parallettes. Okay? So the way that's going to look on here, I'm going to place my hand on the parallette. I've got the metal running sort of through this middle part of my hand, so it's like parting my thumb and my index finger. Then my shoulder is going over the top of my hand. Now it's going to stay there on top of my hand. That makes it so much easier to support yourself on the parallette, because then it's stacked and you don't have to hold it like this. We want this lovely long extended arm which is holding us up. So hand on the parallette with the parallette cutting my hand in half, externally rotated position and round it up. Okay? So if I did that with both hands, here, and whoop, up and down, and that gives me this nice rotated position. So then if I were to move into a front support or something like this, I have good control. This is also the same position for any kind of lever that you're going to do. So I've still got that externally rotated position. And it's also the foundation for things like handstands on the Parallettes. Okay, so I've just said you need your shoulder over the top of your hand from the side. What are we doing from the front on? So I think for my body, comfortably, I actually like my shoulder to be a little bit sort of over this gap, so my hands are slightly outwards. Can give you more room for coming through at later stages. But in the first instance, if it helps you, then go ahead and put the Parallettes directly underneath your shoulder as well. When you start building your press-ups, that's going to be really helpful. In fact, yeah, let's say that. So in the first instance, shoulder over hand from the sideways and also directly down when you're beginning in the first instance. So if we go over that again, we have this externally rotated position and shoulder protraction. So that's our fundamental way for holding on to the Parallettes. It's going to build the foundation for everything else we're going to do. Okay, so now we're going to look at our first 2 fundamental positions on the Parallettes. So the first one is a front support or a high plank. This is like the top of a press-up position, okay? So it looks like this. I've got my externally rotated position using the same arm that we were talking about just a moment ago. Hands nice and strong, shoulder over my hand. Now I go round up and then press in my hips. Now this is something which is called posterior pelvic tilt, which means I've brought my hips up into this position so they can rotate in space like a box your hips, okay? So I've posteriorly rotated them, which means like my hips are traveling upwards towards my body, so like a scoop, okay, underneath with your bum. And then also drawing in my core, taking control of that little yellow ball, like I said before. So posterior rotation, posterior tilt, drawing in the ball, and then a bit of a press there to make it really nice and strong. And then I have these two actions coming from here and the rounding up of my back, which give me that nice front support position. So round it up through the back with my protraction. Let me correct myself, so not rounding through the back, protracting through the shoulders. You have a more of a neutrally held position in your rib cage. It just looks like a rounding of the back, okay? So protracted up through my shoulders, posterior tilt, pressing myself strong into that position. And that's my front support. Okay, our next position is going to be back support. Back support looks like this. Okay, so still, my shoulder still over my hand, but rather than this protracted shape, I've now actually retracted my shoulder and I'm pressing it back the other way. Notice how my palm is still facing upwards, okay? So palm is facing upwards here. I take the elbow ditch, which I was talking about earlier, turn it back the other way, and now I'm pushing back that way with my shoulder, down and through. So my shoulders are in that new orientation, but they're still over the top of my hands. Then I'm thinking with my hip bones up to the ceiling with my hips and down with my abdomen. So there's kind of these two forces working against each other, okay? So hip bones to the ceiling, abdomen in and down. And that gives us our back support position. Okay, now we're going to start looking at building some press-ups on the parallettes. So we're going to use everything that we have so far. We have our nice externally rotated position, and for this we're actually going to use our front support, which we were working on just a moment ago. So I'm going to establish the top of my front support like this and round it up through there. Now I'll talk about the technique first. We're going to come down to whatever depth we are able to. So in the beginning that might not be so low, it might be somewhere like there. Once you get to the bottom, you're going to have control, re-engage around your core, take control of the little yellow ball, actively squeeze it, okay, engage your core powerfully, and then I want you to think about creating the front support shape, okay? So we're going to do away with any notion of pushing straight through the arms. That will happen as a consequence of changing from a bent arm position to a front support, but you are interested in making a front support position. You want to make the best front support position you possibly can and maintain control of your core on the way up. So what that's going to give me, say I was going to go halfway down. Go down with control. Engage my core, again. Think front support shape, okay? I've made my good front support shape. Down with control, engage, think good front support shape, okay? Now what this hopefully does away with is going down and then pushing and coming up like that. We really don't want to break the position or break the shape. That's not going to serve us down the line for more advanced calisthenics. The positions have to be really in place, and that's what's going to let you move yourself through more complicated things on the parallettes, like pressing to handstands. Yeah, no wibbly wobbliness in the middle, must be very strong. Okay, so what you're going to do is work towards 3 sets of 5 on whatever point you're starting at. And if that's just that you might even be here in your front support and shrugging and pressing up to begin with, if you can't get very much distance. But film yourself and see that you can get the best front support position you can. So even if you're just there, front support, engage, front support, engage, front support. And then it will just be a matter of working your depth. But the idea is the same, no matter what level you've got to. And then you can work towards developing the rep numbers and the sets. So if you're beginning with sets of 5, once you can do that, then start to work your way up to sets of 10. So maybe 7 could be another good goal. Once you've got 3 sets of 10, it might be feeling quite strong. So maybe you could add another set, 4 sets of 10, 5 sets of 10. By that point you might be ready to push your rep number up to 15. But I'm talking about quite a long period of time, like potentially sort of 3 to 6 months. And it's not something which you will, it's not something which like you must be at 10 reps after week 5. It might be that you actually get to 10 reps quite quickly, but then it slows down a little bit. So you do it as the process sort of allows or dictates, and then you're always just working on creating your form. You're actually doing the same thing all the time, no matter how many reps and sets you're doing. Okay, so the last bit for this video, we're going to look at the first technical skill of the Parallettes series, and this is front support, shoot to back support. So I'll show you the skill first. Okay, so let's start to break that action down. We want to arrive crisply and immediately in the position. So in order to do that, first thing, establish your good hold on the parallettes, hips in line. Now I actually start to lean a bit with my shoulders, pressing forwards, and then I bring my knee to my shoulder, okay? Lean, bring the knee to the shoulder. Let me say at this point, it's so essential that you maintain control of the little yellow ball, that you're engaged in your core, and that you are perpetually extending through your arm. Those two things are absolute prerequisites for the mechanics of this movement to work. Without them, none of the sort of magic tricks are gonna take effect. If I'm relaxed in my core and on the parallettes in my arms, when I lean forwards, yeah, it's not gonna have the desired effect. So you really need to make sure that the previous elements of this video are consolidated. So, working the shoulder over the hand, and that's constantly growing up, a continuous growth. My core is engaged, okay? So then, from there, I lean the whole structure forwards, and then my knee shoots to my shoulder. If I do that with both knees, lean, shoot, I get this little swing action, and I end up here, okay? Pay attention to the fact my shoulder is still over my hand. I don't want to end up here, or it's going to be really hard to get back. So, strong in this position. Lean and shoot, swing. From there, it's a matter of pressing the hip and drawing in this position. Press hip, shoot foot, and you'll just end up in the back support, okay? Also a downwardsness, obviously always through the shoulder to hit. Now that just requires a bit of timing and coordination, which will just take you a moment to get. But it's swing, shoot. And it has a kind of, once you've got the sense of the swing, it has a natural timing. Like sort of goes like up, ping, and out. I'll see if I can demonstrate it. So, round it up, drawing in, pull, knees, shoot. And then I'm in my back support. I could have arrived a bit more immediately there, so I want to see if I can go straight into position. Okay, now if we're going back the other way, it's pretty much the same idea, but reversed. So I've got my back support, rounded up through here, pushing down, pulling back through my shoulders. Look, my body's already gliding back. Then knee powerfully to my shoulder, and that's going to initiate the backward swing. So, I'm up here, pull, knee, and if I do both, and then I'm ending up there, and then it's just a matter of making that front support position, which you already know how to do because you've practiced it a lot on this thing. So, back support, lean, pull, front support, and it's done, okay? So in both directions, what's really fundamental, and I'm saying the same thing, I've established control of my core, and I'm constantly developing this front support position. It's something which is growing, okay? It's not something which is held. It has the illusion of being still, okay? But if I'm holding it, that kills any potential for fluid movement, because my muscles need to be able to change position. If I'm pushing myself away, this is something which is in motion, but has kind of reached its physiological limit. Like my arm can't get any further away from me, but the muscles are still on a journey outwards. And that means that they're malleable, pliable, and they're happy to move in different directions. That is so essential for the mechanics to work. So you really want to familiarize yourself with that. I would describe the sensation as almost like a lightness. It's not heavy, it's not difficult. You're right up on top of the position, and it just feels incredibly still. And then you start to manipulate the position whilst maintaining that, that sort of mode of being, shall we say. Okay, so that's all there is for that one. Okay, thanks very much for watching. So, what did we do? We did the how to hold on to the parallettes. We looked at this externally rotated position. For the front support, we also had this sort of opposite version of that when we were doing the back support. But for everything which is in front of the parallettes, or behind the parallettes, should I say, when they're in front of you, it's going to be that externally rotated position, parallette coming here, and protracting up through the shoulders, drawing in the core, taking control of the little yellow ball. It's so fundamental for making things like way down the line. I'm talking like press to handstand, top planche. That way of controlling your body, without it, none of those skills exist. So even though this is a basics introductory series, that is an advanced technique. It is so fundamental for like the most difficult thing you can imagine on parallettes. That's how they do it. That's what they've mastered, okay, that way of using their body. There's then a lot of particulars for the later on skills, but I can't stress it enough. If you work that, you cannot help but get better at this. Okay, so we've done that, and then we did the front support and the back support positions, which are the two fundamental positions for the sort of like beginnery stage. And then we started looking at some press-ups, building some strength on there. And then we looked at the technical skill of going from front support to back support. Now, I'll be releasing more videos like this as the Parallette series goes on, but I wanted to do these first 4 in a cluster. I will have other videos coming out more about controlling your core, about the sort of fundamental positions, which are not just good for parallettes, but are good for all of your calisthenics. They're good for gymnastics. It's good for your general day-to-day living as well. I've worked with people who literally just doing a little sort of 5-6 minute routine 3 days a week has nullified common sort of like lower back pains, and they just feel a greater sense of ease moving around in their body. So keep an eye out for those videos. And if you've enjoyed what I did today, then please like and subscribe, and have a look at my Instagram channel. And I am an online coach as well. So I work with between 20 and 30 people at a time. You can work with me over Zoom sessions, so I can support you in the moment, in the hour. You can look at my website for prices. I'm also available for like a lower level of interaction. If you want to send me a video for critique, or you just want a program, I can help you with that as well. So have a look at my website, which is coachjamie.co.uk. You can find the link on all of my description on YouTube, and see what I have available for you and how I might be able to help. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoy this video, and I'll see you again very soon.